G'day, legends. James Greenridge from Emergent Leaders Foundation. A real corker of a subject today on the 5th episode of Choosing the Chair. I've been away for a while doing this, but back in the chair, back in the seat. Can absolute power corrupt absolutely? Well, this one's got cherubs in it, from parents right through to, dare I say it, people in very high leadership positions if they choose to listen to it. Because the answer is a lot more complex, not complicated, but complex than you may initially give it credit for. The simple answer is both yes and no. If the power is utilised from a wound, then what happens is it will be corruptible, because it is already corrupted by the wound itself. So if a person has a saviour complex, for instance, in which, back in my day, especially as a young leader, I just wanted to make sure everyone was okay. And that came across as other subconscious behaviours, such as I needed to be liked. But if you went through and purified it, it simply meant I actually wanted the best for everyone. So what happened there, operating from a very immature archetype, was that I needed to be, I was responsible for everyone getting the best possible outcome. And that responsibility goes away from what I've always said, which is the things that I can control are my three things: my thoughts, my words, my deeds. Now, for me to be impeccable to my thoughts, words, and deeds is where my standard of life comes into it. So that's where I need to focus on. And in Stephen Covey's beautiful book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he talks of two spheres: sphere of control, sphere of influence. Now, I'd suggest the sphere of control is simply your thoughts and words and deeds and what you do with that. But the purer they become, the more resonating they are with so many other people. And then what actually happens is your power of influence actually increases. There's a beautiful example in public speaking. There's a rule of threes. And public speaking, when you're giving it to a crowd, you're going to probably have a crowd of about a third will agree deeply with what you actually are saying, and they'll take a lot away from it. The second third will be in and out of the conversation, but get a bit out of it. And the third third just won't care. Now, so often in public speaking, what people want to do is they focus on the people that don't care and they want to change their attitude. Well, the issue is you're dealing with a stick in the mud, and it actually lowers your vibration of your presentation. The trick is to focus on those that really, really are enjoying and getting something out of it, because what that does is it amplifies your energy, and therefore you actually increase the amount of people. That third pushes out, depending how powerful your actual message can get. And so when you focus on that, what you're actually doing is you're not pushing, you're not in what David Hawkins would talk about using force. You're actually using the power of influence. And the power of influence means that the power comes from within you and is not pushed onto anyone, but it allows for people to actually resonate with you. And a great orator does that really, really well. Nefarious narrators know exactly what I'm talking about and can use emotional manipulation through tuning into people's wounds and igniting them, and therefore getting that power of emotion into the actual presentation, and therefore actually amp it. The issue is that more often than not, because of an emotionally illiterate society, we don't know when that's happening. But I'll give you the biggest indicator, and that is when you get division. Division occurs when, and I'm simplifying here, but at a general level, division occurs when force attunes to an emotional wound within the general collective consciousness. Now, as a leader or even as a parent, understanding collective consciousness, you actually do, you just don't necessarily know it. And it's a scientific thing. If you want to look more into it, look at Morphogenetic Fields by Rupert Sheldrake in his book Science Set Free. But also one of the best things to look at is the Global Coherence Network, Initiative, which is run by the Heart Math Institute. It's been running for years and years and years, monitoring basically human consciousness, and it can pick up shifts in human consciousness at a grand scale and how it actually interacts with the Earth's magnetic fields. So the point is that consciousness has a group effect. Now, any parent will know that you walk into a situation and with your children, and so often the children will unite and play you out, or play you against another parent or the other parent, or play out something. And it's as if they don't even need to speak to each other. They have this innate ability to do it. But they also pick up very quickly on your mood and your indicators. And so they're already picking up and tuning into something which is happening within you. And again, if it's some form of wounding, they'll tune into that and they'll react in whatever way they've been conditioned to do so. The thing is, though, when we use force with our children, we actually get them to close down. And what they'll do is they'll develop these behavioural traits, and which will generally be self-protective. Now, they can be anything from going just into paralysis and closing down. They can develop really needy behaviour, or they can actually get quite violent. It all depends on a number of other factors, but the way the child will play out. The key thing, though, is that a wound has been attuned to. So therefore, if you heal the wound, there's no longer an attuning to that frequency. So therefore, the behaviour must readjust. Force does not have longevity. And again, parents will know this. Force does not have longevity. Parenting is a long game. But leaders who are making shifts in their organisation need to understand this as well. And it doesn't matter if it's an organisation, a community, sporting group, or, a nation. Especially a nation, because you're dealing with such large collective consciousness. The intriguing thing is that a collective consciousness vibrating on a Hawkins scale between 100 and 150 is in a band of manipulation. 100 is fear. And to about 150, that band means that if it's at a collective level, it is, as a group, very manipulatable by generally nefarious people wanting to utilize their energy in some way, shape or form, which is to those people's benefit. So coming back to this point, does or can absolute power corrupt absolutely? Well, the simple answer to can is yes, it can, but it doesn't have to. When the person cleanses and purifies their ego, and they do not come from emotional wound, they come from a heart space which has the collective at its center, the betterment of the collective at its center, then it does not have to corrupt. Matter of fact, it will unify. It will unify because of the power of it. Now, if you want some great tips on this, go to probably the best the best psychologist ever to walk the face of the planet, Siddhartha Gautama, did so 2,500 years ago. Lord Buddha, we know him as. He said to all the people that he taught for a long, long time, many, many decades, Buddha walked the planet teaching. He said, never believe a single word I say to be true unless it resonates in your own heart. Now, I say that before I start any workshop, before I, if it's taking men out bush or doing leadership workshops, whatever it is, I will always start a workshop with that. It's the penultimate in adult education. And I get people to question what I'm saying. It's rich when people question what it's saying, not with judgment, but with curiosity. That's what I call for, curiosity to come in and understand the gift of what's been said. So when power is united through the heart-mind connection, not just the head, but the heart-mind connection, then what actually happens is it can become uncorruptible. I say can. It all depends on where the person is. And then interestingly enough, if you unite it between your sexual region, your heart space and your mind, and you create a power entranced in that, then holy mackerel, you'll put a dent in the universe, as Steve Jobs used to say. So one of the things that this whole divisive, there's a lot of division out there in society at the moment, we haven't picked it up, and it is actually all about power, because it's the antithesis of power. It's the powerlessness that a lot of people feel. And in powerlessness, people will project. It's because the emotion hasn't been processed, so they'll project it onto other people. They'll blame, they'll shame, they'll throw everything out. So when that happens, you witness it. It's palpable. There's anger in the air. There's volatility in the air. If you are able to come, though, to a place where you do not respond to the volatility, you see through the volatility to the actual heart of the person, and you can come to this place of curiosity about why that person's coming, that's when you'll be able to see the wound in another person. And it takes balance, emotional balance, and a desire within the individual to be able to come from that heart space to actually see and allow that to happen. When if my daughters or if anyone's going off, like my wife Kirsty, if she's going off like a frog in a sock at me, and yes, I know that would be very surprising if you don't understand that it's happened, but it has happened before. And so what I can do is tune in, and I can tune right through into her now, and I can see through the emotion and the behavior, the words. And she's a very, very conscious individual, so it's really not that hard for me to do now. But I've been doing this for quite some time, and I can actually get a sense of where she is and what she needs from me. And if she's been volatile to me, more often than not, she simply actually needs safety and to be heard. And once she's done that and voiced, I don't need to change, unless, of course, my behavior is actually a combining factor to it. But generally, I won't need to change anything. I'll actually be able to sit there and simply listen to her and hear her. And when she feels heard, like she feels powerful, and she's allowed to be powerful because I'm holding space, because I'm non-threatening. I don't see her as competition. I don't see her as being able to withdraw anything from me. Now extrapolate that into like outside. If you have a boss or a friend or a parent, or even go up to the political levels, when you don't give your power away to other people, then what happens is you don't find yourself in a powerless position. And let's just be quick about this, okay? There's a lot of egoic people out there in the world that do not deserve your power. So why would you give it to them? That's a fascinating thing. No, but I don't give my power. If you are emotionally charged and you are going out and about right now, watch. And I ask you to really, really have a look. Are you giving your power away, or are you holding your power and presenting? Now, more often than not, I will guarantee you'll find the former rather than the latter. It takes a refined individual to be able to do the latter. My challenge to you is to be able to do the latter and hold people accountable whilst holding my power. That's a really, really powerful thing to do. Hold my power, not force the situation, but hold them accountable. Running rites of passage for 10 years, I saw a lot of stuff with young boys, particularly out bush. And I saw a lot of bullying. And you might say, "Whoa, jeepers, I thought, your programs might be able to be above that." I saw it happen. I called it quickly. I was on it like a hawk. But I did not blame, shame, or guilt. I did call the white elephant. And what happened from that moment was that child's choice. I showed strength in holding the container, but I never had anything else but love. Called it out and held their best intention, or a best intention for them. And 9 times out of 10, it actually worked really, really powerful. There was one stage where there was this one child who'd been so abused in his life, he was running down a path in which he did not want to come away from. To which I explained the path and made sure that he knew it was his choice, but understood he was an incredibly powerful individual. And if he was to choose the way of the light as opposed to going into the evil, then what would happen is so many of his brethren would actually be benefit from him. So all I could do was sow a seed. I could not control. I could just sow a seed. And that is power. A leader will so often simply sow a seed rather than force them around. When that happens, you're actually coming from a pure place. I go back to this point. Power will corrupt when it comes from ego and wound. Power will not corrupt when it comes from purity of heart and a higher intention above self for the collective good. Think about that, whatever level you are. Trust you got something from it. Big love.